Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to financially support my sister anymore? My sister Lucy and her husband Nick have a 4-year-old son. They have been married for 7 years. Prior to April 2019, they lived a very luxurious life. They drive Range Rovers and Audis, used to go on 3 very nice vacations a year, and live in a 3,500 square foot house. Lucy is a stay-at-home mom and Nick is a surgeon. Also, Lucy is 39 and Nick is 40 for reference. In January of 2019, Lucy began contacting our family asking for financial assistance, always reassuring us that we would be paid back. This happened weekly until March 2019 when Lucy and Nick came clean about how absolutely screwed they were. Then we set up a family-funded account for Lucy and Nick to use to buy and pay for their essentials while getting themselves right way up financially. It's me and my husband, my brother and his husband, and my parents paying $1,500 into it every month. Then we have the grocery rotation every 2 weeks. Someone paying into the account pays in an extra $300 for their bi-weekly groceries. Right now it goes mom and dad, brother and husband, me and husband. Everyone in the family has a good paying job, so we are not on the verge of losing everything too, but this amount of money going out is still very much felt. Personally, I bring home $4,200 a month. I don't require my husband to pay for my sister, but instead, he ends up paying for most of the other bills. We don't go on vacation and we've stopped saving for a house, so he is still screwed over by this too, unfortunately. Lucy and Nick were hoping to have another kid in 2018 but had difficulty conceiving. My family assumed that since they can't pay their bills, they weren't going to try for another until they were stable. In December, they announced they were pregnant and due in late June 2020. My brother and I called each other after the text announcement and pretty much took turns screaming. I'm 27, my brother is 31, and we are having to put our lives on hold to keep Lucy above water, and it's very upsetting. This morning, my mom called me and talked to me about throwing Lucy a baby shower, and I went off. I don't think we should throw a baby shower because we are already paying for her so much. Almost 1 paycheck a month goes to Lucy. She doesn't need more of my money. My parents agree that Lucy and Nick should not have still been trying for a baby. But when I said I want to stop giving them 2 weeks worth of my monetary compensation I receive in exchange for my life, they said I was in the wrong. My brother feels the exact same way. They're so willing to put our lives on hold. Why can't we reciprocate the behavior? I can't tell Lucy and Nick when they can have a kid or not, but I feel like I should at least be able to say I'm not paying for it. They supposedly can barely make ends meet on what we give them now. My theory and assumption is based on their history with this though. In January of 2019, it was $200 a week to get by. Now it's $1,275, based off of the $5,100 they get a month from all of us. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole, OP. And neither is your brother. Both of you have done so much for your sister, and I doubt she fully understands the extent of your sacrifices. She certainly doesn't seem to if she and her husband thought it was a good idea to bring another child into the world while relying so heavily on family support. You need to sit Lucy and Nick down and explain to them that you can't afford to keep giving away almost all your salary. If they had any sense of shame, they wouldn't have let things go on this long, and they definitely wouldn't have decided to have another baby. It's time for you and your brother to cut off financial support. No matter what anyone says, you've both done more than enough. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. This is bonkers that you all are paying for them to support their previous lifestyle. They can sell their home and downsize. They can trade in their cars for less expensive models. They can be more frugal and careful with their groceries and live off of non-organic things for a while. And now they're having another child. These two need to learn about responsibility, both financial and otherwise. And it is in no way your job to teach them. Stop putting your money into a wind tunnel. It's not doing any good and hurting your family in the process. OP, you are all collectively enabling them, and it needs to stop. Not only is it not fair towards you and your brother and your respective partners, but you are actively sabotaging your own future. This is not a loan. You are giving that money away. If your parents can afford to do that, all power to them, even though it's so wrong. But your brother and you should put your families first. All you've given thus far is more than a generous gift. But considering rising resentment, neither of you can afford to continue to do so. When you break the news to them, make sure to make it clear to your sister how much sacrifice you and your husband made to accommodate them. If she doesn't feel embarrassed, if I were you, I would re-evaluate her place in my life. Not the a-hole. Stop giving them money. What the hell are you guys thinking? This is not a sustainable plan. Your husband is a saint. I would divorce mine for giving half his income to his idiot sister each month with no end date in sight. You are screwing him too, since you now can't buy a house. Tell Lucy this is a last month of support. And when people get up in arms, tell them to be happy they got fair warning because you are under no legal obligation to help Lucy and could pull the plug today without warning. Your brother needs to do the same. Your parents are free to do as they wish, but no one is entitled to your income at will. Lucy and Nick need to sell the house, the cars, file bankruptcy, and send her ass back to work. The enabling freeloader life is over. The longer you let this go on, the more you are responsible for the mess you are creating. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for paying my sister too much to babysit? This happened a couple years ago, but something made me think of it the other day, and I was wondering if maybe I was a bit of an a-hole. My girlfriend and I have 2 boys, 5 years and 11 months at the time of this story, and I would usually have my younger sister, 14 or 15 at the time, babysit for us. She was good with the kids and she couldn't have a job yet, so it gave her some spending money. We wanted to go to one of those places where you are instructed how to paint something and you can drink and snack. It took about 3 to 3.5 hours from when we left until we got back home. Normally, my sister would babysit for about 3 hours and I would toss her a 20 and she was happy. This time, however, the new Pokemon games Sun and Moon, or maybe Ultra Sun and Moon, had just come out, and I knew she wanted Pokemon Sun. Instead of the 20, I bought her the game, like $40, and gave her 10 as well. Mostly because I was just wanting to be nice, but also because this time she actually had to put my youngest to bed, which wasn't an easy feat at that age. Later that night, I got a call from my dad telling me that I shouldn't have given her as much as I did. Apparently, after she got home, she was told she would need to babysit her cousins for about 8 hours, and that their parents were going to pay her $20. Evidently, my sister told them that I had just effectively paid her $50 for only 3 hours, and with better behaved kids, and that she wanted at least 50 to watch her cousins for the whole day. That did not go over well with my dad, stepmom, or the cousins' parents, and apparently I was in the wrong for paying her so much. I told him that I was allowed to pay her whatever I wanted for babysitting my kids. This, for some reason, really set him off. He started yelling and cussing at me about how now they won't be able to get her to babysit any of the other family kids because the other parents don't want to pay that much. I told him that I hope she stands her ground with everyone else because it's bullshit to have the last-minute responsibility of watching 2 kids all day on a Saturday for only $20. I also informed him that I would be upping my rate to $40 each time she babysat, so she didn't forget that her time is valuable, and then hung up on him. He didn't speak to me for a couple weeks after that, but then he just never mentioned it again. I don't regret anything I did, but maybe I was a bit of an a-hole to him, since it is family that she would be babysitting for. If it makes any difference, the cousin's parents didn't have an emergency. They just didn't bother to ask my sister to babysit for their plans until the day before. You're not the a-hole, OP. You are an amazing brother and an awesome person. Thank you for paying your sister what she's worth and helping her stand up for herself. Babysitting kids is no easy feat, even when they're family. Them asking your sister to babysit her cousins for about 8 hours and offering just 20 is such a bad deal. That's a huge chunk of time to take from a teenager's day, and paying them only 20 for it should be honestly illegal. You weren't the a-hole, and your dad definitely was, with all the yelling and cursing. I'm glad it's all in the past now. Thank you for being such a great brother. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Literally wasting a whole day watching someone's kids for $20? That's such an insanely low amount. Some babysitters will literally charge $10 to $20 an hour for their time, and honestly they deserve it. Because babysitting is no easy job, especially when the kids aren't so well behaved. I understand why the family was angry, because going from being able to dump your kids on someone last minute for $20 a day versus having to pay them a reasonable wage can't be fun. Definitely not the a-hole. Her time is valuable, and you honor and encourage her self-worth and understanding of work ethic. They're pissed because they can't afford her or don't realize what she's doing in order to earn that money. You handled it better than most people, and I'm super proud of both of you for it. I had a similar situation where I was the babysitter, and it actually saved me from my mother continuing to volunteer me to babysit for free. Finally, I told her if she didn't clear it with me first, she would have to double what they paid me due to her disrespect and negligence. Thank you. Hell no. Awesome brother and awesome dad who understands the value of a good babysitter. I'm not even going to bother reading the other responses. The "but it's family" excuse goes both ways. Random teen babysitting your kids who have no CPR skills, etc. Going right. Young cousin, sister willing to babysit at the last minute, and probably thrills your kids that said young cousin auntie was there to play with them. That you completely trust. And afterward you feel good enough about that you give her a bonus. Top right. Not the a-hole because you are a damn good brother to a young woman, teaching what her self-worth should be. Good role model and mentor for your sis and for your boys. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not liking 2 meals my girlfriend prepared? For some context, I work full-time while she is in university, and consequently I do the shopping, and she does the cooking. I'm also a pretty awful cook, whereas she is really good. So it makes a lot more sense to do it the way we currently do. I would say since we've moved in together, she's cooked around 60 meals for us. I can't think of any that I've actually disliked until recently, with many of them being absolutely amazing. Yesterday she cooked a pasta chicken dish that was chicken and tomato based. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I ate some of it, and then we put the rest in the fridge. I would likely have eaten more, but I had just recovered from having the flu pretty badly. Today she prepared some pancakes. I'm not usually a massive fan of pancakes, but she had cooked some before, and they were really nice. So I asked her to make some for me as well, and she did. Honestly, they were very bitter, and I didn't want to eat them. In response, she burst into tears and shouted that she didn't want to ever make food for us again. She spent a total of 4 hours on both dishes, so I can understand why she would be annoyed. I would be pretty annoyed if I had wasted 4 hours of my time. I tried to comfort her, but eventually I felt that this was a bit of an overreaction for disliking 2 meals. Also, at one point I said that I would like to take a break from one recipe for a bit, because we had it very frequently. Thanks for any input. I wrote this with her right next to me, so I would like to think it's fairly unbiased. Now for some comments. No a-holes here. Is it possible her overreaction could stem from being stressed about being the only person to cook both of your meals? Working full-time isn't really an excuse to not have to cook, and it might help her feel appreciated and less stressed if you made a couple meals a week, even if you're not a great cook. There are simple and tasty recipes all over the internet that are nearly impossible to botch. You're the a-hole. You try making meal after meal trying to guess what your partner would like, and then get criticized when you spend hours each day trying to please the other person. You say you can't cook or don't have time. There is a billion recipes on the internet, and guess what? They have step-by-step instructions. If you can hold down a job, you can follow a recipe. If you don't have lots of time, get a crock pot or instant pot that does most of your cooking for you ahead of time. Sorry, but yeah, you're the a-hole, kinda. Learn to cook and take over once in a while. It's really not that hard, and maybe you'll appreciate the effort she puts in more. If she wants to make pancakes and you don't like pancakes, make yourself a damn sandwich. And if you're tired of a certain recipe she makes often, then maybe your ass should be in charge of helping find something else to make instead. I don't mind cooking, but it's not just cooking. There's a mental load of deciding what to make and prepping and stuff as well that I don't think people who don't carry that load value.